Okay, back with some Grand Tactician Civil War CSA campaign. And we're just going to pick right where we left off with some things happening on the campaign map over the winter of 1861 1862. Last episode, we formed up some proper Army HQs. Those are moving into position. We're still trying to take Caroll, Illinois. We're at 90%. Hopefully once we take this and get some infrastructure points around here, this supply situation will ease up for the Army of Tennessee. We're also building a supply depot. This should be temporary, I hope. They're all still at green readiness for the moment. In between episodes off camera, I did fix up a new corps, Van Dorn. His corps is now put together. For the moment, it is still within the HQ Army Command, but he's already been ordered to move up to Nashville. And all of the forces in Van Dorn's corps exist. They're just being transferred from Bragg, and so they'll all be pretty quick to get to their new corps. I did have to recruit straight a new cavalry unit because I didn't have any already formed cavalry units in Bragg's command. So as soon as Van Dorn has all his troops and is in position up at Nashville, I will transfer command of this corps over to the Army of Tennessee. Other than that, we've got a couple sieges going on up here in the east. Fort Carroll is being besieged by the Army of the Ohio. Let's see how slightly in our fort's favor, but who knows if that will hold. I'm kind of gambling that that's going to turn out okay, and even if it doesn't, it's something that Beauregard's army can deal with later. I didn't want to move Johnson's corps out of Wheeling, Virginia yet, at least not until this fort is complete, and I don't want to do it during the winter. Meanwhile, Jackson is besieging Fort Washington, theoretically heavily in his favor, but this is dragging on, and Johnson's readiness is gone in the tank as a result. I probably should not have done this over the winter. However, because he's been besieging, he does get a new perk slot. This has happened since the last time I looked, which was just a few days ago in game. So he's got his flying column. Let's go with the pontoon for the supply efficiency. And the other thing I did was I want to wrap up this darn siege. So I'm kind of throwing good money after bad maybe, but I've ordered Longstreet's corps to come down close enough to help put this siege to bed. To the point where I may, if it gives us an option, since Longstreet has green readiness, I may just assault the fort when we get there. Excuse me. Okay, and that kind of gets us up to date. Our Army HQs are still moving to position. It spawned him down in Norfolk. Whatever state you pick to form an Army HQ. He's already got a perk slot. Ambulance Corps, please. Thank you. I wonder if that means the other Army HQs have a slot. Not for Johnston. Not for Beauregard. And not for Price. We do have a new updated position for the Army of the West, which we haven't seen for several months. Apparently, they have moved here. I wonder if that means we're now going to get triple teamed over here at St. Louis. As soon as I may have to bring the Army of Tennessee up here to finalize this Missouri situation. Okay. the Union has not added any more ports to being blockaded, and it kind of looks like the efficiency of their blockade is dropping. These numbers aren't quite as high as they were a couple months ago in game time. Like these Virginia ports, Gosport, West Point, toward the bottom, they were around 50% when they were first blockaded after the start of the campaign. That would suggest that perhaps the Union has had to reduce its trade warfare subsidies. Yeah, as soon as Longstreet came close enough, boom, Fort Washington taken care of. Right, this is now a Confederate fort. Another city falls. Oh, that must be Carroll. The fact that there was a headline indicates that might have... Oh, I forgot to pick a new policy after Military 2 was unlocked. I'm still okay. We're still at triple B. I don't think I need to do... You know what? Let's not get in trouble. Let's go ahead and do credit rating now. Government funding. That's fine. What does our manpower pool look like? Well, okay. I thought it would start shooting up because of the increased recruitment subsidy. It hasn't. But I also, since I formed that corps, I went ahead and recruited a few more infantry brigades in Alabama under Bragg. So that's probably what that would have sucked off 12,000 right there. Okay, national morale down to 35. Okay, capture 3 cities. I think that's why we got a headline there. CSA national morale plus 5. Yeah, 100 national morale. So what would those have been? St. Louis, Cairo, and Washington. Yeah, 3 cities. Northern cities. We wouldn't have gotten credit for Alexandria, Grafton, or Wheeling because those are, those were Union controlled, but those are Confederate cities, so those wouldn't have counted for that, I guess. Okay, Fort Carroll, how's your siege going? Still slightly in our favor, no change really. Keep going. All right, I was going to put a commander in at Fort Washington. It's actually not, for a volunteer random commander, that's actually not terrible with 2 stars and 3 out of the, but 0 leadership. Let's find another commander. I think this fellow will do. South Carolina. Make sure these commanders aren't too good. 2 stars across the board. I think I want to save this guy. I'd rather see this guy show up in a... Well, on the other hand, he's really low ranking and he's going to have to be promoted to major. as a volunteer, he would lose a lot of that, being promoted to command of a brigade. We'll leave him where he is. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay. So the 2 corps of the Army are now at Washington, D.C. Lee's coming up to... Where is Lee actually going? He's coming up to Alexandria. I think we're going to have to shift Johnson over pretty soon. Because we've left this kind of Shenandoah area open. I don't see any reason why Longstreet can't just come over here close enough to Annapolis to capture it. Yeah, actually I kind of do. Let's wait till Jackson resumes some readiness first, because I think that's probably going to involve a siege of Fort McHenry as well. Has Van Dorn gotten to Nashville? Not yet. It's on his way. Does he have his troops? He does, except for that Cav brigade, which will take a little while. 2 weeks. And no Cav weapons for these guys. I'm doing fine on infantry weapons, but artillery and cavalry weapons are very, very slow in coming. Very. And I may have shot myself in the foot to create that situation by... I've talked before about the frigates. However, I don't know if I talked about... I bought a bunch more ironclads. I did it off camera, and I think I did talk about it in one episode, but I either lost the footage or edited it out for length. And so these are not like the CSS Virginia. These are ironclad gunboat rams, which have iron armor and 10 guns, just like the casemate ironclad, which is what Virginia is. But Virginia is a sea-only vessel. It cannot go up rivers. Whereas these ironclad gunboat rams can operate both sea and river, and they have the same number of guns and the same type of armor. These guns aren't quite as good if you look in the not in-game, but the separate manual, which tells you what types of guns ships carry. The in-game field book does not, nor do the tooltips. And the armor is not quite as thick, but these things individually are a lot cheaper, and they've got the sea and river capability. And the idea was, I thought, eventually I am going to start finding Union squadrons on these rivers in the West, the Tennessee, the Cumberland, the Mississippi, and so I decided I thought I better have some forces that would be able to deal with those. So I built, I don't know, 8 or 12 of these things, and those have been percolating in the background for the past, I don't know, several episodes that I just didn't mention. So that's happening. And while individually they're not a bad buy, with as many as I have building, I may have sucked up a lot of iron for this that is now affecting my ability to produce artillery. I don't know if that's the case. It's possible. Okay, at least we got some winter quarters going on here. And Carroll is now a Confederate controlled city. And hopefully so this infrastructure point is now ours. So is this one. That should be helping out the supply. And we have the supply depot built here too. The engineers are still showing some attrition. Okay, Van Dorn is in Nashville now. Let's go ahead and chop him over to Army of Tennessee. CHOP, that's actually an acronym, CHOP, Change of Operational Control. It's not a slang term, more of a kind of a shorthand jargon. Okay, so we want Van Dorn's Corps going to the Army of Tennessee. There we go. Right. He's far enough away. He's not inside. Let's actually move. If we put Johnson's HQ right around the area of this fort, he may actually have both of his corps within his radius. But he won't have the engineering corps. Let's leave it like it is. Price finally getting up to St. Louis. And here's another updated position. Army of the West is getting closer to St. Louis. That may simplify our problem, because I think this is the army we need to defeat in order to get Missouri to secede. So if he's close, that would be better. Okay, Price is on station. Has Lee gotten up to? No. Beauregard is up by Allegheny Johnson now. I think that's Allegheny Johnson. I hope I don't have my Confederate Johnsons mixed up. All right, Fort Carroll, how you doing? It's actually increasing in our favor. This slider is going in the right direction. And all three of our garrison units are still in good shape for morale. So that's going well. Who is this? That's Beauregard. I thought we got a Beauregard in position thing. Is he considered part of this siege? Or maybe he can't get by because of this siege? In any case, we don't... He needs to be up here with his corps. Coal mining accident in England. That's a historical flavor headline. As far as I know, this doesn't affect gameplay. Unless it's some kind of obscure indicator of something affecting European trade. Jackson's just about to get back into orange readiness. Okay, Lee is on station. We just didn't get a... Yeah, we did. Lee got there. But is his zone extending across the river? It is. Jackson and Longstreet have their Army commander nearby morale buff. So if you hover over the morale and you see up at the top of those modifiers, in range, plus 8.5%, that is coming from the proximity of Lee, from the Army HQ. That's a pretty big buff. And I mentioned it before, but that's now showing. First time I could actually show it in this campaign. And that is why I created Army HQs even for these smaller armies where I don't intend to have 2 corps, like here. And yeah, it looks like Beauregard is involved with this siege now. Okay. Whatever. Maybe that presence is helping. Yeah, they're doing well. That's probably just the readiness dropping on the blue bellies besieging our fort. They're having the same problem that Jackson was starting to have over on Fort Washington. Okay, so that's doing okay. Van Dorn up to orange readiness at Nashville. His fort is almost done at Cairo, Illinois. I tried to say Cairo and Illinois at the same time. Cairo. Halfway done with this fort up here. I'm just double checking these Army HQs again for perk slots. Maybe after this siege is complete, maybe that'll unlock something for Beauregard on his perk slot, since he's involved with it somehow. I mean, that garrison is not part of his command. And it's just him and his staff. There's no forces he has there. We've issued some bonds. So our credit rating has dropped. We're now into BB+. So I'm kind of glad I did take that government funding policy. It was a little preemptive. That worked out. I wonder if it's worthwhile coming down here and taking Fort Monroe, which is keeping Hampton a Union port. Don't know how worthwhile that is. Okay, our fort at Wheeling is complete. Fort Pond. There's also a Fort Jackson somewhere. I don't know exactly where that is. You know what? He's not terrible. I'm going to leave him there. We've got such solid support across all our states. I don't feel particularly compelled to put a political officer there. I mean, he's got no fame, but he's got some stats in at least all of the attributes, which the volunteers often don't have. Let's give him some... Donovan's pretty good. Tribou isn't. He's not even an infantry officer. Let's see what we can do for an infantry officer. Could put John Bell Hood here. Hood's he's pretty good overall, but I haven't assigned him anywhere because he's just got that 1 star in leadership. Which seems odd for Hood. I would have thought Hood would have at least 2, maybe even 3 stars for leadership and maybe excessive initiative. And then like 0 cunning. That would have seemed a little bit more appropriate for him. Okay. This guy's better than Tribou. Let's go with him. And Fort Jackson. Okay, yeah, he needs to be replaced. As long as we're replacing him anyway. What do we got for political officers? Westcott will do. It's not great, but he's not super terrible. Do I want to put a garrison? I don't know where Fort Jackson is, and I don't know how to teleport to that location like I can a field army. Where is Fort Jackson? Is that Carroll? Historical flavor, Battle Hymn of the Republic is now a song. Yeah, okay, yeah, we need a garrison there. And there it goes, putting Tribou in there again. Ooh, I forgot to look at the weapons. It's at least... See, like I said, we're doing pretty good on the infantry weapons. I do not think I am going to be 24, 31, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. So we got 38 brigades worth of good rifles. There's no way I'm going to recruit 38 more brigades for field forces. So we can give them Springfields. Matter of fact, we can do that for all these that we recently recruited in the forts. And that should improve their performance in a siege. I think that it should take that into account. I hope. Let's throw some Lorenzas in there. They're about the same. Heavily in our favor now, but it is still going on. I don't think I can replace his weapon right now. We'll see. Maybe? It seems kind of cheaty. I don't know. It may not actually reflect this until after the siege is done. Okay, these just have artillery. And then just to show what I was talking about, for artillery, okay, since the last time I looked, we have picked up one 12-pounder Napoleon and one 12-pound howitzer, which will not go into a garrison. That needs to go to a field army. And because they are doing most of the fighting, I think the Army of Missouri needs those. Okay, Huger does have a 12-pounder Napoleon already. Oh, I actually had given him decent weapons. Okay, never mind. In which case we'll put them in, let's see what Jackson's Corps has. 12-pounder field gun, 12-pounder field gun. Okay. And then we'll go with the Army of Tennessee then. Yeah, all 6-pounders. Start upgrading his Corps level artillery. Except for that howitzer. That howitzer needs to go to a divisional. Interesting. Why is the 12-pound howitzer not available for a horse artillery battery? I don't know. Might be the size of unit. Into February now. Supply alert. Still the engineering corps. Chance of British intervention has come down, and that's because the Union implemented the legal blockade. And they've gone for tariffs. They're still working on their economy. Okay. How's Jackson doing on his readiness? He's about halfway to yellow now. I'm waiting for him to come up to yellow before I move Longstreet to Annapolis. Because I think we're going to get involved in another fort siege. So I want Jackson at yellow readiness so that they can quickly overwhelm this fort. Clicked on the wrong army. How's Missouri doing? Okay, the Army of Kentucky has come back. They're not attacking, but they're back right here across the river, entrenched. Marmaduke's Corps is back up to green readiness. That's good. Somebody is unhappy with their commander. A whole bunch of brigades are unhappy with their commanders. There's another example of what I've talked about before. The Missouri State Guard Infantry Brigade is unhappy with Colonel Waitman, who has been their commander since the campaign start. All their success has been under his command. And I haven't specifically looked at his stats, but I'm sure he has improved, but now they're not happy with him. And then, we had some changes in this army because of the expansion of the organization across the entire military. And some of these newer commanders, they're not happy with their new commanders. Ramseur, Claiborne, Wilcox, well, they'll get over it. Yeah, whatever. Quite a few episodes earlier, toward the start of the campaign, I was going over the fighting spirit and enemy territory and how your morale is capped in enemy territory, but how that would be mitigated over time by military experience. So over time, I think at the time we looked at that, we were down in the low 70s or so for morale is capped by the fighting spirit. And now we're, with higher military experience at this point in the campaign, we're now above 80% for how high our morale can go. And in fact, our morale is 83.6%. It's capped, and it's pretty high, despite being in enemy territory. So that will continue to work to our advantage in these battles. Okay, we got our funding policy. So probably tomorrow in game time, our credit rating will bump back up. And for our next policy, impressment is attractive. Further increases our recruitment pool, number of recruits plus 10%. Cost of supplies minus 20%, so that'll help the economy. There is a support minus 3, which, if things weren't going as well, that would be potentially an issue, but our support is so high across all Confederate states, I think that's a fairly insignificant factor. On the other hand, Industrialization 2 might help along the artillery and cav weapon production by increasing our industrial subsidies. Kind of waffling between those two. This is going to take 26 days. Industrial policy, 31 days. I'm going to go ahead and do industrialization now, and then I'm going to follow that up with impressment. Primarily because I think that the effect I'm looking for out of the industrialization will take a little bit longer to get rolling, whereas this should make itself felt a little quicker. I'm going to go that route. Now that's our last kind of core policy we can do without increasing our politics subsidy, which is easy to do. It's not a big deal. So the USA is getting a little not quite as aggressive. They've toned down their attacks, the frequency of their attacks. Another updated position on Army of the West, who seems to be moving back toward the west. He was over here someplace. I'm kind of confused on why the Engineering Corps is still... Yeah, you know, I don't need them there anymore. Got the fort built. Let's just take a look here at our telegraph system. Do we need something somewhere else? Or can he go build a fort somewhere? Now he might get schwacked, but let's have the Engineering Corps come over here to Bowling Green and start building an advanced base here to support our future spring campaign into Kentucky. Now that he's moving over there, let's move Johnston to something like this. See if we can keep all three of these subordinate units within his command radius. I don't think he's going to be able to. Probably not. Van Dorn just now crossing any second into yellow readiness. There he goes. That's good. Oh, Engineer Corps is zipping along with some river movement. There you go, buddy. I think now he's just marching. Okay. Jackson is now yellow. Let's see how far in the yellow he is. Just barely. Let's give it a little bit longer. Fort Carroll, come on, man. It doesn't look like there's been much of a change. And this unit has broken. And this unit is down to stable. The infantry's still good. But one of the attacking infantry brigades is down to nervous. Alright, so that continues. Okay, engineers are on station. So there's already a telegraph here. Let's build a fort and a depot at Bowling Green. That'll help out in the spring. How big does Intel say that this Army of the Tennessee is up to? Still just 6,000. Which could be significantly inaccurate. We've seen that before. What's Army of Kentucky at right now? 12,000. Just take a look at some of the... Their numbers are coming up. Waitman is up to 1850. Canty's pretty big. Posey's pretty big. Getting up there. Marmaduke is about 4,500 troops below his full authorized strength. Okay, Army of the West continuing further back toward Kansas. Or is he coming down this way toward Carrollton? Don't know. Jackson's about halfway up through the yellow band. Okay. I'm not trying to besiege Fort McHenry. I'm just trying to get control of Annapolis. So let's edge Longstreet right. If he moves there, maybe he can capture the city without besieging the fort. This is all Confederates. No? Leonardtown isn't. That's because it's under Annapolis' influence. We're going to have Johnson use rail and just quickly come down to Grafton. It shouldn't hurt his readiness too much. He does have a perk slot now. Flying column is kind of my entering first slot for a corps. Does Beauregard have a perk slot now? He does not. This is going in the wrong direction. Law's battalion is broken as well. Ugh. Okay. I may have to bring Johnson over to lift this siege during the winter time. It's going to hurt his readiness and stuff, but this this Army of Ohio, they got to be in bad shape by now with this siege, and they're pretty small. That should fix it pretty fast. Yeah, Johnson is still full green. Alright, screw it. Come on over. I don't know if he's going to be able to use the railroad. It's a Confederate-owned railroad stretch. Well, no, it isn't, because the nearest stop is... No, he's using the railroad. That's cool. Get there faster. Push these guys away. Maybe I should have done that when the siege first started. I thought they were going to win that thing. Okay, engineers are at... Said he got to where he was supposed to... What are you doing? Is he doing that on his own? Get back here. Oh, Army of the Tennessee came to mess with him, and so he's retreating. That's what that is. And he wasn't quite within the CERC command radius. Okay. So Fort Carroll resolved favorably. So things are going well here, not so good in Kentucky. And he is retreating to Somerset. Alright, not a disaster. We're just not... Well, he's getting chased. He might disintegrate if he can't find a route to retreat. No, they're over here. Okay. Not that worried about it. It's expendable. Johnson does have both of his cores. No, well, he doesn't quite have Van Dorn under his command radius. Nor does he really have room to scoot anymore toward Van Dorn. But Van Dorn can certainly scoot a little bit toward Johnston. Okay, what's going on with Annapolis? Good news, no siege. Bad news, no capturing. We're going to have to get a little bit closer. Jackson is now, however, green readiness, so let's just do it. We'll move Longstreet and Jackson right on to Annapolis. Besiege Fort McHenry. Dare Patterson to do a darn thing about it. May as well move Lee a little bit closer. Maybe I should call this army the Army of Maryland now. Yeah, Fort Carroll did get beat up during that siege, and there's some attrition going on. Johnston, let's get him a little bit closer to Winchester. Should be a little bit, or go to Cumberland. And now with that army not in the way. Confiscation Act. Oh, the Bluebellies are going to start confiscating all of our property. No, that's not what I wanted. Already gave that order. I'm trying to get Beauregard to come with you. Alright, the siege of Fort McHenry is happening. Let's see how that's going. Way in our favor. Yeah, Fort McHenry gone, and should be capturing Annapolis. Can't quite, yeah, 18%. That won't take very long. Kind of working on, we'll just gobble up Maryland here, even before spring really starts. We're into March now. And this episode's been going for a while, I think almost an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and put a close on the episode. We're making some relatively slow, small moves, but we're making progress here in Maryland. We've taken Annapolis. We've taken Forts Washington and McHenry, resisted a siege here, and are now taking Cumberland, Maryland. all of which is going to further degrade Union national morale, which is currently standing at 35, but that's going to drop a couple points here when those two cities complete capturing. A little bit of a setback here. We're just trying to do some advance work in Kentucky. That didn't work out, but it's not really a huge deal. And the Union attacks at St. Louis have slowed down, but they will probably pick back up when we get into April. So the French have invaded Mexico. I think we've already talked before that this is related to a possible Confederate policy or legislative act, which is actually a very bad idea because it's bugged. All right, that will do for this episode. Let me pause this. And thank you very, very much for watching.